one year, the Coalition for Life, they were the ones that coordinated all of the prayer times out in front of our clinic. One year, they gave some of their dedicated prayer volunteers names of clinic staff to pray for. And so they asked him, he was Paul Michael at the time, they said, Paul Michael, would you be willing to take a name of a specific clinic worker that we give you and pray for this person for an entire year? And he said, yes, I would be honored. And so he took the name and he prayed for this person for an entire year. And then later on, he discerned into the priesthood. He went on to become a priest. And then all of these years later, we've kept a relationship. And then all these years later, he becomes my priest. And I didn't know this story until he became my priest. And he tells me, you were the name that I was given all of those years ago. And so I thought, man, how cool is God, right? That he prayed for me more than 11 years ago, and now he's Father Paul Michael to me, right? He's my priest. And I was thinking about that time in my life when he was probably praying for me. And I was thinking, this is back in 2009. And 2009, of course, was the year that I left Planned Parenthood. But it was a very interesting year for me, right? It was a year of conversion for me. And just as I had gotten into Planned Parenthood a little bit at a time, because that's the way that sin works in our life, a little bit at a time. It's a little bit of compromise. That's how evil works its way in. One little compromise, one little lie, one little justification at a time. That's how I'd gotten involved in abortion. It was sort of like that getting out. I had this very thick, hardened callus around my heart, and it started to break open. And every crack, I think God was able to get in a little more and a little more and a little more until eventually it just shattered. And I had to flee from the evil, right? I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the darkness anymore, and that's when I left. But that year of 2009, that was the year that Father Paul Michael was praying for me. And I started putting some pieces together. And I don't tell the story a lot. And Jesus is here, and I'm like, okay. Anyway. I was sitting in my office in 2009, and some things had happened. We had just found out that we were building the largest abortion facility in the Western Hemisphere. It's in Houston. It's currently operational. We were going to be killing babies through the 6th month of pregnancy. And I had been tapped. I was going to be eventually running that entire facility. And I really felt uneasy about that. I felt like that was too far along. That was at the point of viability, and I just felt really uncomfortable about that. And I think that was sort of the first crack in this callus around my heart. And I think it was the first time that I really considered that Planned Parenthood may not be the place where I wanted to work for the rest of my career, which was new to me because I thought that would be the place where I would retire. And so God was doing something, but I didn't realize it then. And not too long after I had that meeting, I was sitting in my office one day, and I looked out my window, and there were all these people praying, like they always were, out in front of my clinic. And all of a sudden, this thought popped in my head. It was out of nowhere, I had never had this thought before, ever. Okay? And all of a sudden, I asked myself a question. And the question was, if I died today, did I think I would go to hell? And I remember looking, I really was pondering that question. And I remember looking out the window and seeing all these people praying, these very faithful people, most of them Catholic. And I remember thinking to myself, yes,